The baseball world is about to witness something they never saw coming, and if you are a Toronto Blue Jays fan, what I am about to tell you should have you absolutely fired up right now. Bob Nightingale, a veteran MLB insider who has been covering this league for decades, just dropped a report that changes the entire narrative around Bo Bichette and his future. This is the same reporter who just 1 year ago was telling everyone there was virtually no chance Bichette would stay in Toronto long term. The same guy who had him penciled in to leave when his contract situation came up. And now he's reporting that Bo Bichette is expected to re-sign with the Blue Jays this offseason. Let me break down why this matters so much more than just another off-season rumor. Bob Nightingale isn't some logger throwing darts at a board hoping something sticks. He's connected throughout the industry, talks to front office executives, agents, and people who actually know what's happening behind closed doors. For him to completely flip his stance on Bichette's future in Toronto tells you something significant has changed. This isn't wishful thinking or manufactured drama for clicks. This is someone with real sources, indicating that the momentum has shifted dramatically in Toronto's favor. Think about the context here for a second. Just last year at this time, Bichette's name was constantly appearing in trade rumors. Analysts were speculating about where he might land. National media members were already writing Toronto off as a team that couldn't retain their homegrown stars. The assumption was that Bo would test free agency and find a bigger market, more money, a better situation somewhere else. That was the prevailing narrative, and honestly, given Toronto's history with player retention, you couldn't blame people for thinking that way. But something fundamental has changed, and it's not just Nightingale noticing it. But Nicholson Smith, who covers the Blue Jays more closely than anyone, has been saying for weeks now that the expectation around the organization is that Bichette will be back. Keegan Matheson, another extremely plugged-in reporter, has hinted at the same thing repeatedly. These aren't random voices. These are people who talk to the organization regularly, who understand the internal dynamics, who have earned credibility by being right far more often than they're wrong. When multiple credible sources start aligning on the same message, that's when you know something real is happening. What makes this even more compelling is understanding what changed. Last year, there was legitimate uncertainty about whether this Blue Jays core could compete for championships. The team had talent but hadn't broken through. Questions existed about whether the front office would spend what it takes to build a winner. Flash forward to now, and Toronto just made the World Series. They were competitive on best teams. Bo Bichette was a huge part of that run, playing through injuries, contributing in massive moments, proving he belongs on the biggest stage. That experience matters. That changes how a player views his future with an organization. And let's talk about what Bichette himself has said repeatedly. He's made it clear he wants to play in Toronto. He's talked about his friendship with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and how much it means to build something special together. He's embraced the market, connected with the fan base, shown genuine appreciation for being a Blue Jay. Those aren't just empty words for public relations purposes. Players don't fake that kind of attachment, especially not in today's somewhere. When a star player actively wants to stay somewhere, that's a massive advantage in negotiations, and Toronto has that advantage right now with Bichette now. Let's get into the business side because that matters just as much as the emotional connection. What kind of contract are we talking about for Bo Bichette? Looking at comparable shortstops who signed extensions recently gives us a framework. Willie Adames signed for 7 years and $182 million. Bobby Witt Jr. got an even bigger deal. Xander Bogaerts, Trea Turner, these guys all reset the market at various points. Bichette sits somewhere in that tier of premium shortstops who can hit for average, provide power, and play a premium defensive position. My expectation would be something in the range of 7 to 8 years at an average annual value between $26 and $30 million. Some people might hear those numbers and think it's too much. They'll point to Bichette's injury history or question whether he's worth that kind of investment. But here's what those people are missing. Bo Bichette just finished a season where he was one of only 6 hitters in all of baseball, with at least a .290 batting average and 400 RBIs over the past 5 years. That kind of consistency is incredibly valuable. He's hitting alongside names like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Aaron Judge, Freddie Freeman, and Jordan Alvarez. When you look at offensive production, that's elite company, and elite players get paid elite money. It's that simple. What really makes the situation fascinating is the domino effect it creates for the rest of Toronto's offseason plans. If the Blue Jays lock up Bichette early, it sends a massive signal to the rest of the league. It tells other free agents that Toronto is serious about keeping their core together and building a sustained winner. It tells agents that the Blue Jays are willing to spend. Most importantly, it gives the front office flexibility to pursue other targets without the constant distraction of their own free agents. Imagine trying to recruit Kyle Tucker or another premium free agent while uncertainty swirls around whether you are keeping your own all-star shortstop. That's a much harder sell. And speaking of other moves, getting Bichette signed doesn't mean Toronto is done spending. Far from it. The reports continue to indicate aggressive interest in Kyle Tucker, serious pursuit of starting pitching upgrades, and this isn't a situation where signing Bichette exhausts the budget and everyone goes home. This is a team that just went to the World Series saying, we're going to keep our foundation and add to it. That's championship level thinking, and it's exactly what this fan base has been begging for. Year after year, the psychological impact of bringing Bichette back can't be overstated either. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just signed his extension. He's locked in long-term and clearly bought into what Toronto is building. Having his best friend and double-play partner committed alongside him creates stability in the middle of the infield for years to come. That chemistry, that friendship, that shared vision of winning together in Toronto, those things matter in a clubhouse. They matter for player development, for free agent recruitment, for creating a winning culture. You can't quantify it perfectly on a spreadsheet, but anyone who understands baseball knows it's real. Let me address the skeptics for a moment, because I know they exist. Some people will say this is all just posturing, that Bichette's camp is using Toronto as leverage to drive up offers from other teams. Sure, that's possible in theory, but here's the thing. When multiple independent reporters from different outlets with different sources all start saying the same thing, the leverage game theory starts falling apart. Bob Nightingale isn't doing the Blue Jays any favors by reporting this. If anything, given his track record, he'd probably prefer to be right about Bichette leaving. The fact that he's reporting the opposite tells you the momentum is real. What about the money side? From Toronto's perspective, can they actually afford to sign Bichette and still pursue other major additions? Absolutely. The Blue Jays have consistently shown they're willing to spend when they believe the investment makes sense. One of the largest media companies in Canada. They play in a massive market with a dedicated fan base. The revenue is there, the willingness is there. What matters now is execution. Actually getting deals done and proving they can finish what they start here is also the competitive landscape to consider. Who else is seriously pursuing Bichette? The Braves have been mentioned as a possibility. The Dodgers are always lurking when premium talent becomes available. A few other teams might kick the tires, but none of those situations offer what Toronto does. The Blue Jays can offer familiarity, friendship with Vlad, a proven ability to compete at the highest level, a market that already loves him, and competitive money. That's a package that's incredibly difficult for other teams to match, especially when Bichette has repeatedly indicated he wants to be here. The timing of this report is interesting too. We're entering the part of the offseason where general managers are meeting, where real conversations start happening, where